Good afternoon. Thanks for watching. Hope everyone had a good week. I was on the Uncle Lou show this morning, as I had stated in a previous video. It was a dud. Uncle Lou didn't call me until 8:40 this morning. There was just some confusion as to if I was ready or not. Anyways, I was only on the show for about 5 minutes. Was disappointed about that. Didn't get to talk about anything other than to say hi and who I was. But anyways, hopefully I can reschedule and be on the show at a later date. But I am starting a new series with a new episode every week called the College Football Coaching Carousel. This is not to talk about recent coaching changes that have already happened, but upcoming candidates for the hot seat in the carousel in this 2020 season. Week 1, Episode 1 will start with none other than Michigan head football coach Jim Harbaugh. Now, this one is going to be 50-50 on if people agree or disagree. Even with Michigan fans, it'll probably be 50-50. So, looking at a couple things, Jim Harbaugh is not a bad coach by any stretch of the imagination. 47-18 overall record in 5 years at Michigan. Great record. One of the best records in the last 5 years, to be completely honest. In the top 10 for Power 5 schools. The issue with Jim Harbaugh has not been having good seasons. The issue with Jim Harbaugh has been winning the big games. And we're not just talking bowl games or Ohio State. We are talking all big games. Ranked, just any team where they are playing ranked opponents has been a battle for Michigan. They are 2-13 against top 10 teams under Jim Harbaugh. 2-13. It's absolutely insane to think about that. Looking at some of the other coaches, what they've done versus the top 10 at a huge program. So 2-13 in 5 years against top 10 teams is what really stands out the most. In that same time frame, Michigan has only had one top 10 finish where they were ranked in the top 10 at the final AP poll, and they finished 10th. Can't remember what year exactly. A few years ago. They finished, I think it was Harbaugh's second year, actually. And they finished 10th. He's got one bowl win in 5 years. So they've made it to a bowl game all 5 years that he's been there. But they only won one of them, and it was his first year. And then, of course, there is the always looming Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh has yet to beat Ohio State. And that, in itself, with the big games, is the main reason that Harbaugh is on the hot seat for 2020. This past season was supposed to finally be the year that Michigan shouldn't have trouble with Ohio State. New coach, Urban Meyer's gone. Ryan Day, first year as a head coach. Justin Fields coming in. Don't know how he's going to do. There's so many question marks. If there was any year that Michigan was going to do it, it was going to be this year. Didn't happen. They got blown out. Ohio State ended up being elite, obviously. Finished number 3 in the country. But Harbaugh just cannot find a way to beat Ohio State. And if it does not happen in 2020, that seat is going to be on fire. So me being from Michigan and living in Michigan currently, I have family up here that are Michigan fans. The majority of the people that I work with are either Michigan or Michigan State fans. So I'm exposed to a lot of opinions regarding Michigan football more than most people that are fans of an SEC school. So me being a Georgia fan, a lot of Georgia fans don't have any clue what's going on with a team in another conference. I'm surrounded by it. It's just, that's what happens when you live in Michigan. Their own fans are really 50-50 on this. They're, half of their fans are ready for Harbaugh to be gone. The other half are in that boat where, well, he's winning 9, sometimes 10 games a year. How are we going to let that go when the 10 years before that we were terrible and couldn't even find a way to have a winning season? So they're kind of stuck right now, to be honest. And I think the university is a little bit stuck because they don't know necessarily which way to go, and it's definitely not an understatement to say that Jim Harbaugh has underachieved since he has been coach at Michigan. I don't know if he's related to Dan Mullen, but the fact that the dude can't win his division says something. Hasn't won a Big Ten title in 5 years. And these are all things that Michigan should be competing for year in and year out. I mean, Michigan is one of the premier programs in college football. Especially when you think back to, the old days, the heydays. Michigan has been one of the premier programs for decades. And I really don't know what it is about Michigan that they can't get over the hump. Harbaugh has been a decent recruiter. Not great. He's nowhere near the level of a Ryan Day or Urban Meyer at Ohio State. He's nowhere near Kirby Smart or Nick Saban or Ed Orgeron. He gets a good class every now and then, is what it pans out to be. So I looked at, he's technically been at Michigan for 6 recruiting cycles, but that's not fair because he was hired in December of 2014. So the 2015 class, yes, he was there for, but it really doesn't count. They had 14 kids in that class. There was coaching changes going on. It was a disaster. They finished 37th that year. I'm not going to count that against Harbaugh because that's not fair. So his first official recruiting class was 2016, and Michigan finished 8th in the country, 2nd in the Big Ten. Very good, especially for his first recruiting cycle at Michigan. I thought it was a very good class. The next year was by far, no comparison, his best class that he's had at Michigan. They finished 5th in the country, 2nd in the Big Ten. They had 6 top 100 players in that class. which that's a big deal. 6 top 100 is very good. To give you comparison, though, Georgia just signed 10 of the top 60, but I'll digress from that. But then the next year, they fell off the map on recruiting. They finished 22nd in the nation, 3rd in the Big Ten. They did not sign a single top 100 recruit. The next season, they kind of got back on the horse in recruiting. 2019, they finished 8th. 1st in the Big Ten. Ohio State was terrible in recruiting, comparatively. And then 2020. 14th in the country. They were top 10. Until National Signing Day, they did absolutely nothing. A couple teams jumped them. And once again, for the second time in 5 recruiting cycles, Jim Harbaugh failed to sign a single top 100 recruit. So the talent gap, we talk about the talent gap between Georgia and Florida, is something that Georgia and Florida fans talk about. It's the same thing with Michigan and Ohio State. And it's the exact same scale, to be 100% honest with you. Ohio State is recruiting at a level that's here, and Michigan is here. Georgia is here, and Florida is here. And when that happens, coaching and luck and all these other things are a small piece of being able to actually have success. When you have a talent gap that is that wide, that's hard to overcome. It really is. So when Ohio State is signing, 10 top 100 kids a year, and you're not getting any, that's your difference right there, folks. I don't know what else to say. I point to recruiting. I don't necessarily know that it is that Jim Harbaugh is a bad coach, because I don't believe that for a second. I think he's a very good coach. I think he's probably top 10, borderline top 10, probably top 15 coach in the country. But at a storied program like Michigan, that's only going to last for so long. And UGA with Mark Richt kind of changed that tide, I feel. Because Mark Richt was a top 10 coach easily, hands down. Nobody is going to argue that. Mark Richt was a top 10 coach. Some will say top 5. But 9, 10 win seasons every year. 9, 10 win seasons every year. It got to the point where, okay, we're recruiting at this level, but we're not getting anywhere. And that's kind of where Michigan's at. I mean, honestly, they're recruiting at a decent level. 11th is their average recruiting class in the Harbaugh era. But they're not there. 9, 10 win seasons. So Jim Harbaugh is on the hot seat. It is 100% going to depend on what happens the 2020 season. If Michigan falls on their face and has a 8-4 type season, that seat is going to be blazing. And I will tell you, there is a very good chance that Jim Harbaugh either resigns or there is a mutual separation next December, if that is the case. Now, if Michigan has another good season and goes 10-2 and loses their bowl game and finishes at a 10-3 record, he probably bought himself another year, but I don't know how long that is sustainable. So week 1, Jim Harbaugh, maybe one of the most controversial hot seat candidates that I will do, but also one of the most interesting. So let me know what you think on Jim Harbaugh. Is his seat hot? Will it be? Is his job safe? What do you think Michigan's record will be in 2020? And who would you like to see next? Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys soon.